Okay, here we have an example of a linear programming problem. There is another example in the OneNotes, in the notes section, that's about mixture problems. So there's already an example for mixture problems, but there's another type of linear programming, which is about like just selling two different types of things or buying two different types of things. Whereas the mixture problem is about making things and what goes into making them. So if you want information about a mixture problem, you'll want to look at that other example. However, this is the only video I intend to do where I show how to do very neat things in Desmos. So I have this example, I made it up, it doesn't make any sense, it's just demonstrative to show you how things work. So I have two products, Oreos and Sour Patch Kids. I have some constraints, each of those bullet points. I have to buy them, so I spend money on them, and then my goal is, down here, I want to spend as little money as possible, so I need to know how many to buy. So first, I should identify my variables. I don't know why it's being all weird. So identify variables. I have Oreos and Sour Patch Kids. In fact, if I read more closely, I can see that they're boxes of Sour Patch Kids and packages of Oreos. I don't know, it doesn't make any sense, doesn't matter. So I want to define X. For no reason at all, I will make X be Oreos. Could be either way, you just have to pick. So this is going to be number of packages of Oreos. So then Y is going to be number of boxes of Sour Patch Kids. Because eventually, in theory, you would write this up and hand it in, you'll want to make all of your letters and equations and types of, like if there's numbers in your equation, also, you want to make them look nice. Like you can see how I just changed the formatting and now these look more like they do in your textbook. It's just using the equation editor. If you use a Microsoft product, like somewhere in insert, well, this is OneNote, but usually you find some sort of insert equation. And in Google Docs, it's the same. In the insert menu, you can find insert equation, or maybe it's equation editor, something with equations. I'm sure you can figure it out. So the next thing I want to do is identify my objective. So objective function. What is it I'm trying to do? I'm trying to spend as little money as possible. The fancy math word for this would be to minimize my cost. So cost starts with a C, which means I'm going to call my function C. And it takes inputs, these two different products. So it's a function of X and Y. The amount of money I spend depends on both the Oreos and the Sour Patch Kids. And then the question is, what is the cost? Well, for every package of Oreos, it's 3.5. And for every box of Sour Patch Kids, it's 2.25. So it's always price times quantity, adding them all together. Now I have some constraints. There are 4 bullet points, so I probably have 4 constraints. Maybe I can combine some, but I'm just going to keep them separate for now. So the first constraint, my storage and display areas offer enough space for 200 products at once. So all together, I can have 200 products, which means, well, at most 200 products. So all together, X plus Y is at most 200. The next one, based on previous sales, I know that Oreos are more popular, so I should carry more of those. Again, it's an equation, so I make my equation editor. Oreos are more popular. Oreos, more of Sour Patch Kids. More X than Y. Now, based on previous sales, I know that, oh, I didn't update this. I sell at least 4 boxes of Sour Patch Kids for every 7 packages of Oreos. I find these types of relationships tricky, so I'll show you how I work it out. I actually make a table. There's a Khan Academy video that's very similar. Maybe I will put the link below. So we have X and Y, and just to remind myself, these are Oreos, Sour Patch Kids. So let's assume that I'm on the edge. I don't consider the inequality. I don't consider this at least. So 4 boxes of Sour Patch Kids is 7 packages of Oreos. So then 8 boxes would be 14. That's some nice delay there on my screen. What is happening? And 12 would be 21. So I need to look for a relationship here. But this is linear programming. Clearly it's going to make a line. So I know a line is y equals mx plus c, where m is the gradient and c is the y-intercepts. This relationship between the two products does not care about the intercept. So for now, I'm going to just look at the gradient. Like that is my relationship. And I remember that gradient is the change of y divided by the change of x, rise over run, if you will. So let's look at what happens when we do y over x. If I look at the top row, I have 4 over 7. If I look at the next row, I have 8 over 14, but that fraction simplifies, and it's also 4 over 7. So I can see this is the same relationship on every row. My relationship is represented by this. But again, y equals mx plus c. So I will have y equals 4 over 7x. I like move the x to the other side because this is what I want. For the moment, I'm going to just leave it with an equality. That is not my long-term goal because it's not an equality. But I'm going to wait to use the graph to verify which direction I want my inequality to go, whether it should be a greater than or a less than. So that was my third bullet. And now the fourth one, in order to cover the cost of running the store, I need to sell at least 100 products. So altogether, at least 100. So math equation. Altogether, at least 100. And now I am to the end. I'm ready to graph it. So I don't graph my objective function because it takes 2 inputs and gives a third output. It's 3-dimensional. I save it for the end. What I'm going to graph are the constraints. So I will copy this. I'll go to desmos, and that paste didn't work at all. Nope, so I guess I'll type it. X plus y is less than or equal to 200. That looks crazy, probably just a zoom. So if we zoom out, yeah, we can see it's fine. Now I'm gonna take my next one. X is greater than or equal to y. Again, I don't think it's gonna let me copy paste, but I'm still gonna try. Total fail. X is greater than or equal to y. I'm typing this, but you could also use this keypad here with these inequalities, and also the x and the y are there. Okay. Now I have y. For right now, it's still equals because I have to figure out which way it goes. So here's the line. But the question is, which side goes? Which way does it go? So I imagine it says for every, what does it say? I have to sell at least 4 boxes of Sour Patch Kids for every 7 packages of Oreos. So at least 4. I could sell 5 boxes of Sour Patch Kids and 7 Oreos. So this is possible. And if I look here, did I have this right? The Oreos and the Sour Patch Kids? If I have 5 Sour Patch Kids to 7, yeah, that should be possible. So that means this blue dot has to be in my shaded region. So I should probably put it this way. Oh yeah, to turn these on and off, you just click this button here. I'm going to now delete that dot because it is no longer useful to me, and I have to zoom back out because you'll remember one of my things was very far away. But those are not all of my constraints. There's still one more. This bottom one. X plus y is greater than or equal to 100. So I have that here. Great, but like this looks crazy. I can't see anything. So in order to see exactly what is my correct region, I'm going to put all of these constraints on a single row. So I will take this one and paste it. But then in squiggly brackets, where those are on your keyboard depends on what language you're using. My brackets, the squiggly brackets, are like shift and then the button next to P. But I mean, you gotta find that for yourself. So then I put my next constraints. This one did not do the greater than or equal to quite as I had expected. There we go. That constraints, and then this very last one. So now when I turn all of these off, I can see what's left. Just this little quadrilateral. I don't know that that's a shape I know the name of. Maybe it doesn't have a name. But unfortunately, I can't pick, like, what are the corners? I want to know where the corners of this are, and it's not available when I turn off all those other lines. So how can I make them stay? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is, like, put those dots there. As you might recall from a second ago, when I was testing out the Oreo Sour Patch ratio, I just, like, put a dot. I'm going to do the same thing now. So I'll turn back all the colors. Okay, there, that gives me one corner. So I click here. It's 100, 100. So I'm going to put a dot at 100, 100, and I click label, labeled, done. Now, if I put the third one, okay, that's here. It's giving me this corner. Oh, that's gross. What was that? 127, 273. I'm just putting the 1 there so it doesn't disappear when I click away. 72, 72, 7. This is clearly a fraction, but for now I don't care. And then I'll also throw that label on. It's showing up in like all types of colors. I will deal with the colors later. So then if I turn on this last one, it gives me both of my other corners. So I have one at 50, 50 and one, yes, please label, and one at, oh, this is because of that 4/7. Okay. 6-3, 6-3-6. 6-3, 6-3-6. Again, just a placeholder, because if I don't, then it's gonna like do weird things. 3-6, 3-6, 4. 3-6, 3-6, 4. Great, and label. So now that I have my corners, to make my life less confusing, I'm gonna get rid of these. So I just show that, and I have my 4 corners. The colors are still weird. I want all my dots to be black. It is a personal preference. So I click that cog. I don't know, you saw it up here. It's this guy here. When I click on the circle, then I get the options. I just want this to be black. Here, black. Here, also black. Great. Now the labels and the dots are in black. I don't know, I like them that way. You can make them whatever color you like. This is also a personal preference, but here is like a solid line, and it's the same color as the filling, and here there are no lines. I would like there to be both lines and labels, ideally. So now I'll take each line and graph it. Ugh, annoying. So let's look at this one. I'm gonna make it a line, but remember, a line doesn't have shading. A line is just an equal. On the edge, you're exactly equal, but that line's way too big. Like, I don't want it to be going all the way left over here and all the way right over here. In fact, I just want the x to be going from 100 to 127, 127273. Or I could say, like, I only want the y going from 100 to 72. I'm going to restrict the x just because, like, in general, you restrict domains, not ranges, but the rules are not so specific. This is just the same thing I did up here with the squiggly brackets. All it does is say, please graph this thing on the left, except not the whole thing. Just graph a piece of it. So now it's here. I want to make this orange, actually. I like the filling to be orange. I think it looks nice. All right. And that's here. Okay, now I want this left line, but maybe I don't. I'll just do them in whatever order. Okay, so this is my bottom line. I'll add it here, but of course it's not an inequality. It is just a line this time. That's too much of the line. I need to restrict it. I'm going to go from 50 till 63.63, oh, that's the wrong numbers. 63.634. Same thing here, so I can take my next line. Again, equal sign. I don't like how this looks. I would prefer this be a fraction. It doesn't make any difference. I just like how it looks better. But again, restricted. The x's only go from 63.636 until 127.273. No, that is not how this works at all. Less than or equal to x, less than or equal to. Great. And lastly, I need that other line. I think that was this one. I don't know why I'm copy and pasting that. It's more work this way, but whatever. And again, not the whole thing, just going from like 50 to 100. So 50, 100. Ooh, they are already different colors, but one of them is black. I like to save the black only for the labels of the points. So again, I'm going to go back and I'm just going to change this one. I'll go with green. Sure. So here I have this graph, which is fine, but I'm not super jazzed about all these decimal places. I'm going to leave them anyway, but I'd like to know what these lines are. Like which one is the blue one? So I want to add them, but where would I put it? For now, I'm just going to make a dot in the middle of nowhere. So I can see like right here at 60, 80 seems like a perfectly fine spot. So 60, 80. Turn on the label, and this is the label where I'm going to put the line. So I'll do this line. Doesn't matter what order I do them in. Label, and it shows up, but this is not pretty formatting. Like it doesn't look great. So at the very beginning, I need to put this like accent mark. It's like a funny apostrophe. Again, where it is on your keyboard depends on what keyboard layout you have. Maybe I can find it here. No, because this accent goes the wrong way. It's not that one. So you just have to figure it out on your keyboard. On my keyboard, it's like next to the one key. There's like a tilde and then this funny slash mark. And on some keyboards, it's like down over by the Z key. I don't know. You have to find it where yours is. It looks like this little slashy thing. And you notice as soon as I put the one on the end, now this looks nice. But like that dot is stuck there. I could figure out exactly where I'd like it, but easier would be for me to just change the type of dot. I'm going to make it purple because that's the equation it belongs to, but I can also make that dot draggable. This means it drags in all directions, which is what I want. I'll just drag it over here. And then with this, I always put mine, like I don't want it to pick for me. I really want to know where this is. I could also make it larger. Maybe. I'll leave it as a medium for now. So the thing is, I don't really want the dot showing. I just want the label. So I can unclick this and it doesn't show, but notice it slides over a bit. So I have to estimate where I think it will be. And that's why you want to turn off that default placement. So like you really know, is it going to slide to the left or up or down, whatever. So that's my first one. Let's go ahead and do this green. Again, I'm just going to throw a point in the middle of nowhere because I'm going to make it slidable later. Draggable? So it doesn't matter. This is my green one. So I make it be a green draggable dot. Done. Green is down here. I guess this one I want to the left. Maybe a little closer, and then don't show the dot, just the label. Great. Blue one, still missing. Again, random dot in the middle of nowhere, doesn't make any difference what it is. And this is the line y equals x. I know that I have written before x equals y, but like, I don't know, rules of writing. Style says you should put the y first if you're going to have just the two letters. So again, that was my blue equation. We'll go with blue, drag, done. This one I'll also do to the left. Ooh, I think that's going to be a little close. Turn it off. Great. One last line is this one. So for no reason, maybe just it'll look a little bit closer. I'll put the dot over there. I will label it. Notice I did copy paste and it came up with this like weird code. This is just LaTeX code. If you copy paste it from up here, it will do the code correctly, however it should be. So just copy paste. It's already red, so that's fine, but I do still need to make it draggable. No. See, that makes the marker an X. I guess it doesn't matter because I intend to turn it off, but that was not my goal. Then this one, I'm gonna have it be to the right. That's gonna make it easier to know where it's sliding. And I wanna watch the space between the 4 and the line because it's too close, it'll look weird. Voila. A little hard to read with all these lines. I don't know whether we need to make sure the axes are in. I guess I could zoom out so they are in. And here's where I can have some choices. So maybe I don't want to show these sort of gray lines. I just want to do the major grid lines. It's a bit cleaner. It's a personal preference. There's also this projector mode that makes all the labels much larger and the lines bolder. I think in my case, it looks kind of silly. I'm going to turn it off. If you want to say how big these steps are, like maybe I don't want it to be doing 50 like it's currently doing. I want it to do 10 instead. You could change that. Actually, I think that looks quite nice. Maybe I'll go with 20 though, because it's quite a lot of lines. Lovely. I'm happy with it. So you could leave it this way. You could also label your axes, like with words here. X was Oreos. But see, it just shows up over here on the right, and I don't find that very helpful. I want it to be like bigger and more prominent. So surprise, surprise, I'm going to do it with a dot again. So I'll throw a dot over here at like 120 -10. I will label it with numbers, well, Oreos, and then number of packages. I like my labels to be black. I think all the labels should be black. It looks nice. Again, draggable because I want to move that. And this one I for sure want to be like super big. So I'm making it large. I want it to the right. And then I'll just drag it like here. But now it looks weird because there's lines running through it. So actually I think I'm going to turn off my grid lines altogether. I could turn off the axis numbers, but I do not want to. I'd like to keep them. But I do want to turn off this dot. Okay, and then the same thing on the vertical. So, I don't know, 10, 100. Oh, there's my dot. Label it. These are Sour Patch Kids. Number of boxes. The units usually go in brackets. Again, it's a style thing. It's not absolutely required, but you may as well because it's sort of just how things are done. Great. I need to drag this over here, but like, that's the wrong way. No problem. We click here. Let's have it be above and large. And now I click this to change the orientation so it can run along the y-axis. Looks fine. I gotta turn that off so it doesn't show. And now, I don't know, I think it's a pretty good graph. I'm not sure I'm super jazzed about like this here. Maybe I delete it, but the thing is if I don't show the axes, then it looks super funny. Like then it's just like a floating, or sorry, not the axis numbers, the axes all together. Like if I get rid of it, then it's this weird floating picture. And I don't want that. I could maybe just like make the line like y equals 0 and then restrict it to only go from 0 till 180. And that's fine, except then when I turn off the axis, I also lose my numbers. I kind of liked having them. So I'm actually going to keep it. I'll get rid of this. Personal choice. So you can export this. You could choose. So if I save this link, I can like paste it somewhere and then it's alive forever. Like if I open in a new tab, it'll open it exactly how I have it. If you want to create a Desmos account, You could also like name this as well. What was this like? I'll just do linear programming Oreos. Sour Patch Kids, yeah. You can save it. It doesn't really matter. But so you'll notice here, I could export it as a graphic, like as an image, but it loses all my labels, and that is a huge bummer. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do a screen capture. So from here, I would just screen capture maybe this square. And now it's ready to paste into my write-up. Obviously, this write-up is not finished. You need to put way more stuff. But at the very least, now there's a nice picture. I should change this now that I know which direction it goes, except I already forgot. It was that way. I think I can just copy it. Greater than, yeah. Okay, so now I have these, but how do I get my answer? I need to test out each of these points. I need to put them into my objective function, which I'm calling the objective function to get all of the communication points. So I'm gonna check, I'll start with 50-50. So what happens if I plug in 50-50? Well, this was my function. So it goes here, but x isn't x, it's 50, because I just said so. And y isn't y, it's also 50. I typed like /c dot, that's not important. You can find it from your drop-down list in your equations. So then I would actually have to calculate this. So 3.5 times 50 plus 2.25 times 50. 28, 7.5. I know that's not how you say numbers. I'm very bad at saying numbers out loud. So I have to check all of my points. This is not ideal. This is a rounded number now. It would be better if we were using the non-rounded number, but here we are. 63.636 plus 225 for every Sour Patch Kid, 36.6364. Again, so 3.5 times 304,545. I think I can copy and paste that. Let's find out. Not really. The formatting is bad. Fixed. So I'll do this for each of these. I mean, I'm not going to because I'm lazy. But in theory, you would do this for each dot, and whichever one minimized the cost, that's the one I would pick. So like if it were just between these two dots, I would pick this one for sure. But maybe it's one of the other two. You should check all of your things. And if you want to write it in function form, you put the name of your function and then the actual value you're evaluating the function at. So which x and which y are you checking? If you want more information on how to do the write-up or more hints, whatever, look at the other notes from these sections. Like you have OneNote, you know how they work. Here is how you get them. This is alive now. Like I'm leaving these notes in there. I am not leaving a link to this. You need to do this yourself. You need to learn how to do it. So if you would like your graph to look nice, similar to this one, then rewind and follow the instruction.